6, where he pled guilty by way of information to count 1, domestic violence, a felony of the 3rd degree, and count 2, menacing by stalking, a felony of the 4th degree.
Your Honor, my client is 46 years old. He's married. He does have a GED. He indicates he has a valid license. We'd be asking the court to consider community control. We understand there is a presumption for prison that has to be overcome. Since prison is not mandatory, the court does have latitude and consideration of a community control sanction, which my client would like to take advantage of if it is available. He would be staying with his godbrother in Richmond Heights. He indicated that he was last employed at a body code, an airplane manufacturing company, where he would test the integrity of airplane jet parts, making them more durable through a heating and treating process. He'd like to resume line of work in some way, shape, or form.
Mr. Barber, what do you want to tell me before I impose sentence?
Is it all right if I stay, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Please get another chance at life, any type of probation or mental health. I've been taking my Keppra. That's for my epilepsy, and that's a psych med as well, 750 milligrams. I've been taking Lamotrin, that's a psych med, and for my epilepsy as well. And I know that I made a mistake and had a situation wrong, you know, my son and my family. I just couldn't take my son being rude and disrespectful to me for a long time. And I handled the situation in the wrong way, Your Honor. And I'll just ask you, would I please me to get a second chance in life so I can get back to work, so I can pay my mortgage, my property taxes, Your Honor, so I can show you that I can listen to you, listen to my probation officer, live a normal life. I don't do drugs, Your Honor. I don't do alcohol, Your Honor. I don't hang around criminals. I don't run the streets. I'm a family man. I go straight to work and come home. I can obey the law. I know I have prior DVs. Those are verbal abuse DVs with my first wife. I'm married again with my second wife, living out in the house that I own in Lake County. I haven't been talking to my family. I have another place that I can live so I can reboot and regroup and focus on life, Your Honor. You know,
How long have you been taking these psych meds?
I've been taking Keppra for about 5 years.
Okay. Who prescribed that?
I was a doctor, a neurologist called Weiner.
Okay.
From the University Hospital, sir.
So why did you go to that? Why did you go to UH for that?
Oh, well, I was on Tegretol XR before, and it stopped working, so I had to go to another medication, sir, and Keppra was working wonders for me so I can stop having seizures, because I haven't had seizures in over 3 years, Your Honor, for my
So how long overall have you been involved with mental health medication?
Since 1999 or 2000.
Okay. So you've known of this condition or these conditions for 30 years, close to 30 years, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So why does this stuff keep happening then? Because you've got 5 prior domestic violence, the last one a felony 4 a couple of years ago. You got 2 separate cases that are assaults.
Oh, Your Honor, my old DVs were in Cuyahoga County with my first wife, Your Honor. And the last court case I remember having in Cleveland was like an assault. I spazzed out, I had a seizure, and they said I assaulted the paramedics and the police officer, Your Honor. I blacked out, I didn't know what happened. I was in University Hospital on Chardon Road in Richmond Heights, and I was in coma for like 3 or 4 days, and when I woke up, they asked me what year it was. I didn't know what year it was, so I stayed in the hospital even longer, Your Honor, until I guess I came to my senses, and they told me that I assaulted the paramedics and the police officer.
Okay, so what happened with these cases against your son and then against your wife?
For my son, my son was being unruly to me for the past 6 months, Your Honor. I just kept giving him chances and chances over and over again, and trying to sit down and talk to him and not put my hands on him, Your Honor. I just kept talking to him over and over again. He's being disrespectful to me, my wife as well, Your Honor. And to tell you the truth, I had a mental health breakdown and couldn't take it anymore, Your Honor.
What about your wife?
My wife was just getting involved, and she was trying to stop us from fighting each other, Your Honor.
So are you telling me this really isn't your fault? It's your son's fault?
No, I'm not saying that, Your Honor. I can't put all my blame on my son because that is a lie, Your Honor. It's my fault and my son's fault as well.
So what was the physical contact you had with your son that's the result of this case?
Well, we were wrestling around. I kicked him in the nose, Your Honor.
When you were wrestling?
Yeah, I pushed him off of me and then kicked him in the nose, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other incidents?
Yeah, he had a box cutter. I took that from him, and my wife pulled it out of my hand.
And she got cut, right?
Yeah, she got cut on her index finger, Your
What were you doing with the box cutter?
Honor. I took it from my son. He works at Walmart. Him and my wife both work at Walmart.
Why did you take the box cutter from him?
I didn't want him to cut me or anything like that, and I just snatched the box cutter from him.
Why did you think he was going to cut you?
Because he was really upset and mad and scared of me. I told him, I threatened him before he came home from work.
Why?
Because he was being unruly and talking smart to me and being very disrespectful, and I just couldn't take it anymore, Your Honor.
When was this?
This was a little bit after Christmas, Your Honor.
Okay. When did you give him that Lexus to use?
Pardon me?
When did you give him that Lexus to use? Or give it to him?
Probably about a year ago.
Okay. When did you give him this $4,000 to hold?
That was around tax season. I gave him my tax money to hold for him.
This past year?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why did you do that when in your eyes he's been such a pain in the rear end to you and a smart ass? Why did you give him $4,000?
Because he's real good at holding money, Your Honor. And my wife works at Walmart. Seems like she likes to spend a lot of money and let it dwindle down.
Okay. Did you give him the Lexus? Did you give him the car? Or did you give it to him to use?
I gave it to him to use, you know.
Why didn't you take it back? If you gave it to him to use, if he was being a smart ass, why didn't you take it back from him?
Because my wife is using a Toyota, and I didn't want my son to walk to school. She had to go to work at 7 o'clock.
If I had a son that age who was being a chronic smart ass like you're portraying it, okay, and I was letting him use my car, I would say, you know what? Leave a half hour early and walk to school. If you're going to be a smart ass, I'm not going to let you use the car. See, the point is I don't believe you. I don't believe what you're trying to sell me here.
Oh, well, that's the truth.
I mean, because you're a violent person. Because I look at your past.
Yes, sir.
And you kind of soft sell these domestics as all verbal things with your first wife.
Yeah, a lot of them were with my first wife.
They may have been with your first wife, but not to be believable that it's just a bunch of arguments with your first wife, and then you get charged with domestic.
It was, Your Honor, out of Maple Heights and Garfield Municipal Courts. Well, I had my first son with her when I was younger, Your Honor. In my 19 years old, in my 20s.
This thing with the box cutter, were you playing around with a joint? Is that what it was? And your wife talked to you about that and tried to take it from you, and you cut her?
Yeah, she just snatched it out.
But it was about marijuana, right?
No, not about marijuana, Your Honor.
Right.
A joint, not about marijuana.
You don't use drugs, right?
No, I don't use drugs.
Then why do you have drug convictions?
I have one drug conviction in maybe like 99 or 2000.
You've got a trafficking in cocaine in 2000.
Yeah, that was a long time. 2000, I was 20 years old. I'm 46 years old now, Your Honor.
And you went to prison for that.
Yes, sir.
Got out in 01. You only did about 5 months, 6 months, but you got out, and then there's a marijuana conviction. In '02 and '03, there's a drug abuse.
That's a lot.
In '09, there's a drug abuse. In 14, there's a felony drug possession. So you do play around with drugs.
That was a long time ago, Your Honor.
17, there was a drug abuse. So that wasn't a long time ago. You've been dealing with this mental health and on medication since '99.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're playing around with drugs during that entire time period, and you're violent.
Yeah, I do have a violent history, Your Honor.
I know. And I think you're trying to soft pedal what happened here, quite frankly.
No, Your Honor, or they're trying to soft pedal. I told you the honest to God truth. The reason why I didn't want to take my Lexus from my son, Your Honor, is because he's been going to school late, and I don't want to be school late. He's supposed to learn welding this year coming up, and I didn't want my son to be in school late. And my prior convictions with DV when I was young and very dumb, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Cutts?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, it is my understanding at least one individual would like to address the court.
Well, I've been with David for 20 years now. I've been married to him for 13 years, okay? I've tried to get him to change his medication, the Keppra. They put him on the Keppra when he had a pancreatitis, and it seemed to drastically, well, he was already kind of abusive, and it made it even worse after he took it. Me and my son both begged him. We got him to go to another doctor, university up in Menor. They changed him out to another medication. He stopped taking it because he was getting constipated off of it, and he never went back and tried again. Now, as far as the car, he gave that car to my son, and my son has been paying him $600 a month for that car. And I have it wrote down that he has a record of it. Every time he paid him, wrote down in his book, okay? Now, I do love David. I eventually want him to get the mental health that he needs. I know that this man has problems, okay? He needs to get the mental health. I don't really know what else to say about it.
All right, thank you.
Oh, well, my son is a good kid. He goes to school, he gets good grades, and he has his license. So I don't know what you're talking about today.
All the stuff they said was a lie. I can't trust him anymore. He did give me the car. We came to an agreement. He said he wasn't going to pay for it because he wasn't working anymore. He got fired from Body Code in 2022. And also, this abuse has been going on ever since I was a child. I've been seeing my mom getting beat by him. With that box cutter situation, he did have box cutter. He was slicing one, Your Honor. And they was arguing about something, and it turned physical. So I tried to break them up. And when I tried to break them up, he assaulted me, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. This case encompasses, as the court is aware, two different victims. Count one deals with his son, and count two deals with his wife. Count one deals with an extended period of time that does include the incident with the box cutter and kicked in the nose. Prior to that incident, there was also an incident where he punched his son in the mouth and split his lip. That would have been in January of 2025, as well as where he put his hands around his neck, leaving some marks in November of 2025, with the kick in the nose and the box cutter being December of 2025. There were also various times of threats that were made. It's the state's understanding that that was a pretty constant, regular thing. The state was provided with recordings of various threats made by the defendant to either his son, his wife, or both of them. Going back to December of 2024, well over a dozen recordings of statements such as shooting or killing, hurting, things of that nature, as well as other behaviors that would be upsetting and concerning.
Well, part of that, if I'm correct in what I'm recollecting is that the threat to kill him and then get him to stand off with the cops so they kill him, right? Isn't that part of one of the
He has made
tirades?
He has made statements
Right.
of that. I don't know if that's included in the actual recording that I have, but that is
Okay.
information that I have received as
Right.
well. And he also told probation that if he wasn't able to be with his wife and his son, that he would kill himself. So he makes statements of that nature to multiple people at different times. All of those obviously concerning and have an effect on both his wife and his son, understandably. So we do have here arguably injuries exacerbated by age. As his son has stated, this has been going on a long time. These actual charges are when his son was 15 or 16 years of age. Obviously, it's very emotional and hard for them because this is a family member for them. However, when somebody acts this way or treats you that way, it's very difficult mentally and emotionally, as well as there have been physical injuries that have been spoken of. A parent in front of a child, granted he was a teenager, but as he has indicated, this is not the first time. There is a history of both juvenile adjudications and criminal convictions for the defendant. His juvenile history began in 1992, appears to be a misdemeanor burglary. In 97, a misdemeanor assault, and in 1998, a felony burglary and misdemeanor theft. He began his adult history in 2000, as the court has stated, he had a trafficking in cocaine, felony 4 conviction that he did go to prison for. In his pre-sentence report, the statements that his written statement as well as this interview seem to carry a lot of victim blaming, as opposed to taking responsibility for what was occurring and has been occurring. It's also very concerning to the state, the issues that the defendant had within the jail. There were numerous incidents in the jail that included yelling, screaming, swearing, faking medical issues. At one point, he said to corrections officers, if I don't get toothpaste, I'm going to kill myself. They had to put him in a suicide prevention smock. Even though today he has said he doesn't use drugs or alcohol, there's been information indicating that's not accurate, as well as he stated that he does sneak away to drink since his wife does not agree with his drinking. The state is concerned whether there's really genuine remorse based on what he has said to this court in probation and what seems to actually be the truth. So we do not feel that he has overcome a presumption for prison on count 1. We do think the state feels that prison is consistent and that he's not amenable to community control. So based on that, we would ask this court to sentence him to a prison term in counts 1 and count 2. He has 78 days credit.
Stated, I don't believe what you're telling me. And specifically, there's an indication of a long-term use of cocaine also, that you talk about not using drugs. But more concerning than anything is your penchant for violence. You've had a long-standing mental health problem that you've been under care for, and you sometimes, appears to me, sometimes treat, sometimes don't treat, and all the while using illicit drugs. Couple that with your anger problem, and you're a dangerous person. You've demonstrated objectively that you're a dangerous person. You have come here and you've tried to soft sell what you did, why you did it, and essentially blaming your son for being unruly and blaming your wife for letting him be unruly.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's the excuse that you've given for the physical assaults. And as I said, I don't believe that that's the case. I believe that you've been violent for quite a while, and you were violent in this situation. So that's what we're dealing with.
Will I be able to say something, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
I was put on probation in 2019 for my last
Right.
case where I had a seizure, and they said I assaulted a police officer and the paramedics. I didn't violate my probation. I was put on house arrest. I was put on probation for 5 years. I went down to Cuyahoga County, downtown. I was dropping a urine every Monday, and I completed my last probation, Your Honor.
Let's assume that that's accurate, and I'm not going to evaluate probation in Cuyahoga County. I'm not going to assess that, okay? But so you complete it. This verbal and physical abuse picks up, and which culminates in you sitting here today. So whether you complete it or not is not very consequential in my thinking, because if you did complete it successfully, you went right back to the same activity that you've been doing for 30 years. So what good did it do?
I just feel that my family been telling me I need a mental health evaluation. They've been trying to make me change my medications because they said I would have the caffeine ranges, and I said they were telling me I needed mental health. I just didn't really pursue that, Your Honor. I thought that they were trying to, make fun of me or put me down, Your Honor.
Well, but you've been dealing with this problem for upwards of 30 years, so you knew you had it. And now you're saying that it doesn't make any sense to me. There is a presumption that a prison sentence should be imposed in this case. You have not overcome that presumption. So in consideration of everything on count 1, I'm going to sentence you to 36 months in prison. On count 2, 18 months in prison. Those will be concurrent to one another, with credit for 78 days that you've served, and the costs are assessed. When you get out, you will be on post-release control to the parole authority for at least a year, up to 3 years. Anything further, Ms. Cutts?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Mulkey?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right.
He walked into court asking for a second chance, but the judge had already seen a pattern that stretched back decades. The defendant pleaded for community control, saying he was a family man who wanted to return to work and rebuild his life. But when the judge started questioning his history, the story began to unravel. His wife told the court that his behavior had become abusive and that the family had repeatedly urged him to get mental health treatment. Then his son spoke and described years of abuse, including witnessing violence against his mother. The prosecutor revealed even more: multiple alleged assaults, threats, and recordings involving threats against family members. Then the judge delivered the devastating conclusion: "I don't believe what you're telling me." The court found that the defendant had failed to overcome the presumption of prison. His sentence, 36 months on one count and 18 months on the second, served concurrently with credit for 78 days already served. A second chance was requested. Prison was the answer,